All right. So, welcome everybody to our Inside the Success. So, I'm excited about this. So, as we said, there is going to be a question and answer at the end of this, but feel free to write your questions in the comments if you feel more comfortable doing that. But at the end, you also feel free to unmute yourself and ask your questions once Shellie and Jody are done sharing their stories and all the information that they're here to share with you tonight. So first off, I'm excited to introduce Double Diamond director Shellie Browning. She's from Walling, Tennessee. Proof that busiest people are often the most successful. She works a full-time job, leads a powerhouse team, and still finds time for her beloved Doberman and her husband Mark. But Doberman, I don't know. I think he takes up more of your time, right? So she,
Absolutely.
so she's a shining example of what's possible when you show up with consistency and heart. So Shellie, go ahead and take it away.
Hello, everybody. So I started with Mia Bella back in 2006, and really, I just started for the discount because had shared them with me, and I loved them. We had the soap. Um, we just had we had the votives. I loved all the things about it, and I meet my husband, moved down here, and I meet Kylie. So and she was just so outgoing and so fun to be around. I took a break from Mia Bella and went a different route, but then we came back. So it was really hard to convince everybody how great Mia Bella is, and now everybody knows. But it was really hard at the time. So that's kind of how this whole team got started. Was just Kylie taking a chance with me, and so talking about one of the questions that was asked was how did we meet people? So when Kylie first came over here, I had Mia Bella candles burning throughout the house, and she was like, "Oh, what's that? A candle?" And so I'm thinking I've got a new customer. You always look at everything, you look at everybody as a customer because you want to convince them or you want to mark them off your list because you know really quickly how it's going to go. I mean, you can look straight at them and tell if they're going to buy or they're not going to buy, or they may buy later, but you have to tell them what you have and what's great about it. So that's how I, met Kylie. And then as the team grew, I just look at customers that spend a lot of money with me, and I offer the opportunity to them. They may not take it immediately, but they come around. One of my last people that I personally sponsored, her husband bought her two candles a month, and I'd never met her, but I was like, you should tell her about this. You should. You're burning two or three candles a month. She could join, and y'all could get the discount. Well, you never know. And she's signed up and she's hit over 2,000 volume every month since she joined the last day of July. So, you just never know. You have to talk the story everywhere you go. And, I have a few on my team that I met at Fling that were looking for somebody to help sponsor them. It's just everywhere you go, you have to be that leader that people want to be involved with. They know that you'll help them, and so you have to be a product of the product and always preach or practice what you're preaching. So um, I feel like I do that. I feel like I talk candles every day, all day. Talk them in my sleep, I think, but I love the product. So it's not hard for me to share that love. And I feel that people feel that from me and, they're attracted to that part of it, just how excited I am about the product. But as far as my personal success, I'm a checklist person. Um, I created an agenda for this call so I wouldn't miss anything. But every day I take 15 minutes. I work from 6 a.m. to 2:30, and then I come home and I have a schedule that I follow. I feel like you have to have a schedule. If you say I'm going to spend 15 minutes a day looking at these things, if I just wait and keep waiting and waiting, I have a time when I come home every day that I do this. So I sat down and I do it real quick before I cook dinner. So I look at my personal sales and I kind of gauge where I'm at and what I need to do. Um, Working with Jody for so long, the customer follow ups, I have always, since she shared that with me, that's a part of my practice. And I can send those texts out and get a sale, that day or deliver something later on or something like that. You just need to follow up with your customers, know what they like. And it's really nice to also keep, like your good customers, keep what they like so that when they call you, you have it. They don't have to wait for it. That's one thing I have realized is people don't want to wait for their candles. So um, then after I do my customer follow-ups, I look at our leader meetings. I try to make sure I can make sure I hit the 10 to go. I attend Jody's meetings sometimes when I can. Kim's meetings, stay up to date on all the company announcements. Um, I try to be where I know what's going on with the company. And then I also have my fundraiser book. I check it to make sure, I check in on like 1 week interval, 2 weeks. And then when we're closing it, I just send a check in with them, make sure everything's going okay, answer any questions they have. And then after I do that, I look at my inventory. I do an inventory management. I kind of check and see what I have and what I might need, take notes of that. And then I look at the sales and tracking and our incentives to see where people are, send them a little text saying you're doing great. Um, you know, Help them stay motivated. With the team, you have to just motivate all the time. I have to motivate myself. So my husband's my biggest cheerleader. I have to bounce things off of him. And of course, with Bob being my upline, when I have something going on, I call Bob and, he just tells me to sponsor. So um, after we do all that, I just wrap everything up, make sure that I've hit all the high points of the day. And then I also in my calendar, I'm I write down how many candles I sold each day. So I do the candle a day, and we also have the candle a day check in. And I always post in that. Sometimes I'll miss a day, but 99% of the time I post in there, and it's kind of like a push for us, everybody that's in the group, to say, way to go, or, and it'll pace you. If somebody's just posting every day, they've sold 10, they've sold 15, it just makes you want to work a little bit harder to be able to post more candles in the check-in. So that's kind of how my day goes, and that's what I feel that makes me successful.
Yeah, and I love your little group too, because whether they sold something or not, people still enter it. Like if they didn't have anything, it's okay. Like it's okay if that day you didn't sell anything. But it's so fun to see it because I'm part of that group too, to see everyone and all the fundraisers and all their events that they're doing. And even if it's just a personal sale, because I talked to somebody at the doctor's office, whatever it is, it's fun to see all of that activity. So
Yeah,
great job.
it's not fun to post a zero, but I will do it. I don't like to.
You're human, right? Everybody's human. Everyone has off days, and that's okay. But
Some days you have to take a day off.
at least you're talking about it every day. May not make a sale every day, but you're talking about it every day. So
Yeah, trying to make a sale every day. Make sure that you have talked to somebody, you've texted somebody, you've made a post, you've done something to try to sell one, even though you might not have sold one that day. So it
yeah.
keeps you active.
Yep. And Shellie, of course, has earned her trip for one already. We know she's on her way for two to Cancun. So congratulations on that with all of your hard work and consistency. That's what it gets you, right? I mean, you had a plan, you had a goal, and you've earned that. So that's really exciting to see that happening again too. We never want to miss you on a trip. So, and
Yeah.
especially Mark. And Mark sells his fair share too, right? He does his fair share.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I could probably count on both hands how many he sold this year.
Oh, better tell him to get on it.
he's he's been pretty busy, but that is another thing. My husband lives in a different state, so I've been able to focus a lot more this year, and I have picked up more fundraisers. And I had to pick up more fundraisers because I've had 5 people that done fundraisers with me last year join. They saw the opportunity, so that's I had to start digging deep to find more fundraisers. So it connected me with a lot of different people too with that happening. But um, he is retiring in
Oh,
March,
wow.
so he's going to be back home. So, I
That's
mean,
going to
not
be an adjustment.
retiring. He's retiring from Bridgestone, but I do have him another job lined up. So,
Oh, there you go. There you go.
yes.
And just so you know, too, Shelley's going to be joining us on Friday during our recognition event to share more about her fundraising success. So we'll share some photos and she'll talk more about the organizations that she's worked with and how she's found them and her success with that area too. So look forward to that on Friday. So, well, thank you, Shelley, very much. And again, if you guys
Thank
have
you.
questions, put them in the comments or we'll unmute you guys at the end and you can ask your questions of Shelley and Jody when Jody wraps up here. So next, I am honored to introduce Double Diamond Director Jody Zavala, and she's from Peoria, Arizona. And Jody's someone who always puts her family first, yet still leads her business with incredible commitment and heart. She recently became a Southwest flight attendant. I don't know if that's recently anymore. Has it been almost 2 years now? 3 years. Okay, it's not that recent. It seems like it. Among other things, I know you guys got other things going on with Albert too. So very, very busy. But even with this career and a busy schedule, she continues to show up for her team and her Mia Bell's business every single day. Her consistency and dedication are truly inspiring. Jody is the definition of making it happen no matter how full life gets. So, Jody, we're excited to hear from you. So, take it away.
Thank you. Gosh, that was very nice. Thank you. I know, I can't believe it's been 3 years.
Oh,
I'll tell you what, I have a lot of new customers over at Southwest. So, it was a good move for my candle business for sure. But the perks are fun, and it is a we always say it's a fun gig. But so I started selling candles. Gosh, so I always use my daughter's age because she was 1 when I started, and she's 27 and a half. So I started in 1999. And obviously, as most of you know, it was with a completely different company. However, at the time, I was teaching physical education full time, and I had 2 small children. I had a 1 year old and a 3 year old, and I was coaching. So I coached all the sports at our school. And then they told me if I got my master's at the time that you would get a better paycheck. So I was taking my master's. And at the time, I was also I decided I wanted to run marathons for some odd reason. Who knows why? But I did enjoy it. But to say the least, just like Shellie, very busy person. But I agree with Kim when you said the busiest people do very well at this business because you're around people. You have so many different avenues of, sharing what you love. And so, to sometimes, and I admit, sometimes I hear people tell me like they're too busy to do this, and I'm like, oh no, you're not. You're perfect. But it was one of those things where I went to my husband and said, well, I'm going to sell candles, and he was like, when? Like, when are you going to do that? But you have those opportunities in the teachers' lounge. I had opportunities, with my people that I ran with and marathons in that community. And my kids, I spent a lot of time with my kids. And so their, play groups, other parents that my kids is, are friends with their kids, those kinds of things, coaching, the fundraiser piece. I couldn't do fundraisers at my own school, but I could do them at other schools. And being a volleyball coach or a softball coach, I got to know a lot of different coaches. So I was able to present that. But I want to mention something that is pretty interesting about all of this. In 1999, cell phones were really, really not a thing. Like, we didn't have them. They were kind of starting. And if you had one, you must have had like this very important job to have a cell phone. There was no Facebook. There may have been MySpace, but I don't know that I ever had one. There was none of that social media. I remember that we used to order the candles via fax machine. Things were so different. So you had to present yourself, right? You had to present the product. You had to show your excitement. You had to know about the product. You had to have knowledge. But honestly, I sold most of my candles and had success because of my excitement for the product. I do believe that the way the world is now, that we've lost some of that, personal human touch. And one of the things I pride myself on, and I know Shellie is the same way, is I have relationships with my customers. I know about them. I may not know every single thing about them, but I know about, their son that plays soccer. I know that they have a daughter that, just got married and, they're going to be expecting a baby or whatever. I know those little things that I may be able to help them with something, a gift or an idea, or, I know the realtors. I just somehow, some way, I try to keep that either in my notes or my customer notes, or, somehow I just remember because they've been a customer for so long. In fact, I got a text message today from the number I didn't know, but they introduced themselves, and she said, "I'm an ops agent at Southwest, and you gave me a car freshener one day." So, I probably opened the door and there she was, and I probably wanted to make her day. And she's like, "And I ordered some candles and I love them so much. And how can I, get more?" And of course, she's in my phone now, SWA Ops Agent, her first name, and then a few little notes about our relationship. And so, little things like that. It's really, really huge. I think social media and email and texting and all those things are wonderful, but it truly should never replace that personal touch and, that written thank you note and that meaningful moment with a customer, whether they buy a candle or not. So don't be afraid, don't be afraid of your business. It's your business and you love these products. There's no doubt about that. So, own that and love that and understand your products, understand about the clean burn, understand about the palm wax, about the safe wicks. And you're not trying to convince people, but you need to be convincing, so the more you know about the product and the more you show that love for the product, I think that is what, for me, helped me to be successful. And I always kind of use the analogy, if you were going to open a storefront, like a physical building, and whether it was candles or not, but if you were going to open a store, would you like put black paper on the windows and keep the door locked and stay inside? I would hope not, right? Like you would decorate the windows, you would have bright lights, you'd have a sign, you would have balloons outside, you'd be outside, you'd be wanting to share your business. Now some people have storefronts, but you are your storefront. Your face, your smile, the way you talk about, yourself, others around you, your integrity, all of those things are your storefront. It's like virtual though, right? The posts that you put on social media, the humor, the fun, be who you are, and people will begin to be attracted to it. So especially, you start small with customers and then they tell somebody and they tell somebody and so on and so forth. I will give you an example. I'm going to give you 3 examples because somebody asked about distributors that are currently right now on our team in our front line that I met. So I have 3 people. They might even recognize who they are in these 3 stories. The first one I will talk about has been with me for quite a while, like a very long time. And I got to know her because I did a fundraiser. So I did a fundraiser for a little baseball team. And ironically enough, I got that fundraiser because the older brother's on a different baseball team and they did the fundraiser. And then the parent said, we need to do it on our younger son's baseball team. So there we are, right? There's always one leads to another, or maybe 10 more. So I did the fundraiser. Well, I noticed there was a little 10-year-old baseball player that sold 87 candles. And I thought, wow, that's a lot of candles for one baseball player to sell, knowing in my heart that mom and dad probably really helped him out. So I reached out to this person and I said, I am so impressed. Do you realize, how much money you alone raised, for your needs for the funds. And she was just like, I love these candles and I can't get enough of them. And she goes, sometimes I feel like I throw up on people because I'm so excited. And, and I said, that's okay. Look what you did. You did a great job. And I told her, you might want to consider doing this. And at first she was like, well, I'm a NICU nurse and I'm really busy. And she was going to school and doing all kinds of other things. Two small children also. And then I told her about the trips. And that's the thing that sealed the deal for her. She's like, wait, did you say you go on trips? And I was like, absolutely. So that's Laura Bartigas, folks. So if you haven't heard her name, you probably will. But we met long ago. And the only reason my label is on the bottom of the candle, and I reached out, and the rest is history. Another one is just recently, I was in Munns Park doing an event, and I set up there and do events, and I highly recommend events, but obviously take the precaution to make sure that there's not already a Mia Bella person there, and have that integrity. But I ran into a lady and her husband just absolutely fell in love with tobacco cognac. So we got to talking, and next thing you know, they're buying 6, 7, 8 candles. And then they reached out to me the next day and said, how do we go about doing this? We want to put these, in our, combine this with our rental business. And we really love this candle. And so Carrie Searle, they reached out to me. I don't know. We had a connection in the booth. We were laughing. We were talking. It was just kind of a magical moment. But she has been selling these candles now for a few months, I think 3 or 4, maybe 5 months, and doing a great job. So that's the other one. And then last but not least, just recently, actually just this month, or November 1st, actually, or maybe the 2nd, it was early November. This is a longtime friend I've known for many, many years. Our kids played baseball. They both went to the same college. And this person just, she knows I'm the candle lady. She's always known it was an opportunity, but for some reason, the time was right for her. And so Tracy Hager joined on the 2nd or maybe the 3rd, somewhere early November, and she had over $1,300 in sales in her first month. And that was just an old connection. But my point with this is 3 different ways, 3 different reasons. Never once did I always say I never slept in anyone's front yard. I never, hung them over the water and said, you better join or you're gonna, drown. But all of them, made the decision on their own. And then I made a promise to them, like, I promise to help you. I can't do your business for you, but I will help you. When you need something, I will respond as quickly as I can. We'll do it together. And I'll put just as much effort in as you do. I'm going to match your stride. So that's for when it comes to sponsoring, that is truly, that personal relationship is huge. And last but not least, and I'll just touch on it quickly, but Shellie mentioned the follow-up, and that's something I trained on. Gosh, Kim, was it back in the early summer I did it, the 2 weeks, 2 months?
Yeah, I think so.
I'd be happy to share that recording with you guys, but it's basically when a customer buys a candle. So yesterday I had someone come over, Celeste, my customer Celeste came over and bought 7 candles. And in my phone, 2 weeks from yesterday, I put Celeste, 7 candles, and then I made a note of the 2 new ones that she's trying. In 2 weeks, I put that in my phone, 2 weeks from yesterday. In 2 weeks, that's going to pop up in the morning, and I'm going to sit down and do my text messages, and I'm going to message Celeste and say, hey, what'd you think of the frosted balsam? And I'm not looking for a sale. I'm just want to follow up. That's it. It's my 2-week follow-up. It's possible that Celeste is going to say, my sister came over and she took it, so I do need another one. And it's possible she won't, but at least I'm following up with Celeste, and she feels like, wow, she took the time. It's just a text. That's it. It takes literally seconds for me to do that. Then 2 months from yesterday when she was here, I will put the same thing, same information, but it reminds me to contact her in 2 months. And now I'm saying, hey, guess what? Our spring candles are out or whatever, because 2 months from now, they're going to be coming out. We're probably going to know what they are, most likely. If not, it's going to be soon. So I'll be able to use that and say, how are you doing on your candles? Is your Christmas tree down? Are you ready to move forward or whatever? It's that personal relationship. And I love humor. Sometimes I send funny memes. But people know that, they know how I am and they know that that I'm that way. But I really, really enjoy that piece. I love, love, love that piece. So, anyways, just to follow up with what Shellie said, it really does work. You just have to slap it in your phone and it'll show up on the day when you're ready to do your text messages. It'll be there. And slowly but surely, your phone will be full. And if you start now, a year from now, you're going to be amazed on your follow up. So I hope that helps, Kim.
Oh, I think so. Especially, I love you saying about getting back to the basics, right? Because everything it has become so impersonal. Even that little thank you note, a handwritten note, or a phone call once in a while, if people will answer your call, right, these days.
Right.
But it does. I think it makes a big difference in that being an expert, right? If you're an expert in what you're selling, the confidence comes through, and that helps with the excitement and just that knowledge. So yeah, I love that. I love how you met your team too. One question that popped to my head, because Mike and I have talked about this, because we've heard this question a lot. You have people that sell a lot of candles, best customers, or you have this great head of an organization that you've been doing fundraisers with, and they become distributors. I have so many people, why would I do that? That's my best customer. Why would I want to sign them up? How do you answer that when people have those reservations?
Yeah, well, first of all, that's my favorite thing, and I think Shellie probably feels the same. Yeah, it's a little bit of it keeps you on your toes. You can't ever get comfortable in your business. You're regardless of whether someone joins, you're always looking for that next person to help, start a business. But for me, that's one of the best things that could happen because when you have a good customer join, now I picture it like branches, right? I only had a branch with her, but she's got so many more branches. And it's possible I may have tapped into a couple, but I will never be able to have that focus or reach that she has to all those other branches. And so it's actually a really cool thing. And I know it kind of does feel that way. I get it. I get why people feel that way because it does feel like, oh no, but here's what I always say. There is so much room at the table that you want them to join the fun and you want to see their success. And, now you just have that much more exposure.
Great answer. I love that. Well, I'm surprised. I'm not seeing any questions in the comments. So I'm hoping people are waiting to unmute themselves because they want to ask you in person.
We love
So this
questions.
is the time, guys, for any questions that you want to address towards Shellie or Jody, bring them on. Just feel free to unmute yourselves. Come on, guys. This is a very
Hey,
limited opportunity here, so take advantage.
can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes, this is Tracy.
Yes.
Hi, Tracy.
Hey,
Tracy.
thanks for doing the call. I actually reached out to Kim and said, "Hey, can you get them ladies to do a call about how they got to where they're at?" Um, I, see, Shellie mentioned candle of the day. Is that like some sort of challenge? I didn't quite catch all of that. Where your group shares what they accomplished for the day, or the goal is to sell a candle. Can you elaborate a little bit more about what you were talking about?
Yes. It was actually something that my husband and I started. It was for the Jamaica trip, and I was trying, I was running really, really close to earning the trip. And we sat down, and he said, well, if you sell 3 candles a day between now and then you'll make the trip. And so that's where the candle a day came in. It was always kind of my thing. And then me and Kylie, we introduced it in the Powerhouse team. And then we have also introduced it at Fling. And you don't have to be on any certain team to be in that group, but it is a daily check in for if you sold one candle a day. I can send you a link to the group. You can join us. It's just kind of like, it's a motivation tool. And you turn off your notifications for it, and you don't have to, it doesn't bother you. There's probably 10 to 15 that post every day in it, and it just helps you congratulate people, motivate you. It's just a daily check-in.
It's a group. It's not a group though, is it? Or is it a messenger?
It's a messenger group.
Messenger group.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
One thing I just realized I didn't read on my notes, Kim, is, and this is something I see a lot, and Shelley's very good at this. You could tell by when she was speaking how she said she goes home, she has a routine. And I feel like that's one of the biggest things that happens with new distributors, especially because it's tough to get that routine or that habit, and consistency is so key. And even if it's just 15 minutes, I remember when I first started, I did the power hour, which most of all of you all have seen. If you haven't, it's in the files, but and that's what Shelley's probably kind of using to kind of chunk out her time. But it's a way to keep yourself it's a way to keep yourself focused on what needs to be done. And those tasks that aren't just like dilly-dallying tasks. Sometimes I get into that. Like I get on Canva and I start making stuff and I'm like, is this helping my business right now? I'm like, nope, stop, go. But and don't give up. You're gonna have, like Shellie said before, 0 days. I call them warming up days. Those are my stretching days. I'm getting ready for the next day 'cause it's gonna be a big day. And so don't give up. Don't beat yourself up if somebody says no, they don't want to do a fundraiser, or if someone cancels a fundraiser on you, or you have a customer that wants to return all our candles. We've all been there. We've all been there. But don't give up, because those are the things that help you figure out how to do better and be better and keep going. But I notice one of the biggest things, especially when people start, is they kind of start to fade a little and then they lose that motivation. So whatever you have to do every day, if it's 15 minutes like Shellie does, stay motivated and don't give up. Be consistent and it'll come around. It definitely will come around if you keep at it.
And another thing with sponsoring, all the people in your town, like Jody said, all the little branches. We have in our county, I have 5 distributors in our county, and there's 44,583 people in Warren County. There is no way 5 people could sell to. We would be like at the very top of we would be selling the most of everybody, and so don't ever look at the person down the road. Don't be afraid they're going to take your sales. If you sign them up, you're still going to make money. You have to look at it like you just have to be open with your sales. Invite everybody to sell. If they all want to sell, that's great. They know people. That's why there's, I don't know, 500 churches, 10,000 gas stations. Everybody has different places they go and they hang out, and those people trust those people. Those people trust those people. So, don't ever feel like you're running don't feel like you can't just sign everybody up around you, because you can. I usually don't do events in my hometown, because then I can affect the sales of people in my group. I do some. I have a fundraiser that I do in town that touches a lot of people, because all the seniors in the high school are selling them. But it also, they can get that candle and then call the girl that they buy candles from and order more because they got that one and they like it. So they're always going to reach out to the person that they know and trust to buy the candles. So sign everybody up around you if they want to sell, and you can all work together. I mean, we do vendor events together. Um, we have lunch together. We can meet up and talk about stuff. We can share candles. Like I said, people don't like to wait on candles. So if somebody on my team needs something, they text me and I meet them, or they come and get it, or, just work together. You can make big things happen in a small town with 5 or 6 people selling. So don't be afraid to sign up around you. That's one thing I do see people do.
Tracy said she heard the average 25-year-old knows 250 people. I don't know if that's true, but interesting.
That's an amazing business right there.
That's a lot. I'd like to sell 250 a day.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding.
And another thing, Kim, I feel like makes me successful is I have candles with me everywhere I go. It could be 3, it could be 6, but most of the time it's 3. Um, and people worry about what scent you take. I love every candle Mia Bella has. Well, there's a couple that I don't love. A couple that I don't love, but I would still burn them. So, and I can still tell a good story about them. But a lot of people try to take too much. They try to have one of everything, and then that's overwhelming. So you just have to, you sell them what you have. And I think that I can always sell what's in my bag just because I'm like, oh, I love this one. And, so have candles with you everywhere you go, or at least samples. Talking about something that they can't touch, see, or smell is, it's hard to convince them of that too. So it's real
You're
simple.
right. And Shellie, I was going to add to that, the one thing, if you have 6 candles in your car and that's what you have, they're going to buy what you have. And if you don't have what they want, there's a reason. Now you got to follow up, and now it's in your system, right? So, just having it with you is huge, and I think that's a great idea. I know there's a lot of people that do that, and that's key. That's key right there. You'll be selling out of your trunk.
Right.
Well, the scent sprays, I do sell them. If you have spiced apple and fir in your car and you open the door, people at the bank can smell it, getting gas. So I keep 5 or 6 of those in the car and just here, be
Yeah,
like me. Yeah. So
love it. Tracy was asking tips to give a mom that works 40 hours a week from home as an HHA for special needs son and must be at home for those hours. So, I love that question because there is a pathway that's going to fit for, I don't know who it is, but there's a pathway that will fit this mom. But she's going to have to get creative, right? She's going to have to do some things a little differently, because obviously her main focus and her main objective is take care of her son, her special needs son. But there's avenues there, there's probably some groups she's involved in. There's some Facebook pages she's involved in. There's some resources that she's involved in. There's ways to tap into different things that can be helpful for special needs kids, adults, anything like that. But you're gonna have to get a little savvy on your Facebook. But again, don't just focus on that. You might want to have a VIP page where maybe your special needs son is part of your, part of your program, part of your marketing, you can kind of use it, make it fun. But yeah, there's a way to do it. It's just going to take some creativity and some thoughts and ideas, and ask people in that group and in that realm, and look at ways that those people, all of these, there's a lot of moms that work, they work 40 hours a week and they work from home and they don't get to see a lot of people. I hear that a lot. So you just have to get creative. You do see people all over, but, think about those avenues with that. It's not a limitation. It's definitely a challenge, but it could be really fun to come up with ways to focus on that.
And I do see Tracy posting with her son because I know
I
she has
love
the
that.
challenges, but she does. You make it fun, Tracy. I see your posts. So that's the biggest part of it because we know what a stressful
Yeah,
role you have and applaud you for it because that is very stressful, a lot of work. But yeah, I see you having fun with it too.
definitely.
Hey Jody, I have a question.
Yeah.
Lower that. Um, how do you guys travel with the candles? Because I think it was in Team Momentum or Bella Builders that um what somebody asked about how to travel with the candles because of the fact that they had to check them.
Yeah. So they will check candles. If you put them in your checked bags, you're fine. Your bag's going to be heavy. It's going to go over 50 pounds, and you need to wrap them so that they don't break and all of that stuff. But you are absolutely allowed to take candles to in your carry-on. I always suggest that you have them out of your bag. I actually take them out of my bag and keep them in like a plastic bag in the tray so that they don't have to open my bag because my bag's going to clear and then they're going to see the candles and then they're going to test them and swab them and do all that. You are going to get checked, but they are not going to take them. They just need to check them to make sure that they're not, wax drugs or something.
Unless you're traveling international, I would try not to do it internationally because
Yeah,
sometimes they can
international
eat the
can be
candles.
tricky. Yeah, although I put those in my check bag because I take a
Yes.
candle with me everywhere I go. But in my carry-on internationally, sometimes you never know. Every airport could be a little different. But in the United States, it's not a problem. They will check it, but it is not a problem.
And it's Sandy, and I've traveled, I don't know if you call it international, but between Canada and the US. And there is
Yeah.
a single trip that I have not had my candle stash tested and swabbed. So I always make sure I go to the airport early because I know I'm going to be holding up the line while they test my candles for nothing. But in the past, it's actually become an opportunity for me to sell the candles. I don't sell what I have usually on me, of course, but handing out business cards, me amounts to the agents, and like they're always been very receptive to it, and they understand what I'm doing in the U.S. with Mia Bella. So it's I turn it into like I don't want to get so stressed out about it. Having that little delay with carrying the candles on the airplane and such, and I think a year or two ago, of course everyone remembers I popped the root beer candle in Phoenix and caused a scene with breaking a candle, but ended up with like some orders from it because all the ended up my business card and actually placing online orders for me from me. So traveling with them is a good thing.
Absolutely. So anything else? Anyone else have questions? Just feel I've only been muting people if there's feedback. So feel free to unmute yourself. I was just doing it because there was a little bit of feedback coming through. But
Kim.
yeah, Diana, hi.
Hi. Um, just one thing, especially for new reps. I mean, I'm not the most successful, but when I first joined, I learned everything I could about the candles, and it helped so much because when a customer had a question, I knew the answer. And I still continue to do that. I try to educate myself as much as possible on the different waxes, and all of that. And I think that's helped me. At another event, I didn't know who had the fundraiser, but a lady came up and said, "Oh, a friend of mine just sent me a picture of her fundraiser form." And, but I wasn't sure. So I gave her a little bit of education and let her smell my fundraising candle, which I have separate. And she was so thrilled. And she said, "I will be ordering quite a few." So don't be afraid to help your fellow um, distributors either. And then I found that it was somebody on our team, and hopefully I helped her out.
Yep. And you are successful, Diana. You said you're not really sick. Yes, you are.
You sure are.
You're on fire out there on the East Coast there. So she's doing a great job. Thanks for sharing. See, I do believe knowledge is power because if anything builds confidence, like we said earlier, it's that knowledge and that confidence in your product. Because the minute you start wavering, people pounce. So, you have to have that confidence and be accurate. Because sometimes I hear some wacky things out there like, who told you that? So make sure you have accurate information about our candles, which we have a lot of information out there for you. So use it. I have a YouTube channel out there that has every single video we have ever done since I joined this company 5.5 years ago. So use it. It's a resource. Some of them are outdated, but the information is still accurate. So, go browse through there. There's candle facts out there about the palm wax. And when I first started the company, right, I was so used to paraffin, I had no idea what's wrong with paraffin. Well, you learn a lot. Just Google it, and just to show the difference, those health benefits and how great our candles are with that all natural palm wax. And as far as I know, nobody else is doing it. You might see a lot of different candle companies out there when you're doing events, but I don't think you're going to find another palm wax company. So, that's a huge bragging point for us too, because they can't find them anywhere else, which is exciting for us. So anything else, guys? We have these two powerhouses here. I don't think I see any more in the comments. All right, going once, going twice. All right, we're going to wrap it up. Well, thanks again, Jody and Shellie, for joining us, and everybody who jumped on tonight. I really appreciate it. Again, this is recording, so I'll send this out tomorrow to everybody for those who missed it or who just want to listen to it again, because there was a lot of great information that you guys shared tonight. So thank you so much for taking the time to share your success. So thanks, everybody, and
Thanks
have a
for having
great
us.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Have a
Thanks for
great night.
everybody.